now come the final lines, the challenging sub-content to understand what is meant by certain terms, that it's not meant in the literal sense, but nonetheless it is the truth of it. So let's start again from Ois Nun Beis, which we started, but this is where we belong. On Peish Kuf Chav Hei. So we said prior to this that Ratzon has a tremendous power. Ratzon actually can force Seichel out from its source, as we discussed, the Seichel that comes from the Ratzon. And similarly, it affects all the koiches and all the Ivorim, as a matter of fact. It activates all the Ivorim. It makes the foot move. Kol Zeh, this entire phenomenon.
Disconnected.
Why did he disconnect? Oh, probably because it's out of power. Okay. The reason that Ratzon has this kind of effect is due to the fact that Atzum zo Ratzon nimshach, that the Atzum of the Ratzon is brought forth, lifoil, to have an effect, to act, b'chol lever or b'chol koyach, in every ever and every koyach. The Atzum of Ratzon, this is a koyach ha-nefesh. Clearly, this can have a tremendous effect on everything, because it contains the truth of the nefesh itself. And now there is the subtleties. V'yein hakavona. However, we do not intend to say she'etzem harotzim mamosh nimshah bozeh, that it is literally the essence of the rotzin itself, the way the rotzin is in nefesh. This itself is what's brought into the koiches. This is not what is intended to be said. There's no way that Etzem HaRotzin is going to be nimshach into anything. It's part of the nefesh. The be'emes, because in truth, klol is hamshach azois, this hamshach of the rotzin coming forth to affect anything, all the koiches and all the ivorim. In overall, close means on the fundamental level, not the result of the hamshach, but it close its inception. B'hi rag haora, it is only a haora. A haora from the otzim hanefesh. And we already explained the principle of haora, which is the functional effect of something versus the actual presence of itself. Like we said, the fire versus and the heat, which is identical effect, but the heat is only the effect, the functional aspect of the fire. So the rotzin is not nimshach, the etzem harotzin, but just the haora of the rotzin is nimshach. So if it seems that this is only haora, why then do we say that in the rotzin there is in that atzem harotzin is nimshach, the etzem harotzin is brought? If it's a haora, why do you say it's a atzem harotzin? And here is where the subtleties come in. However, the intent by saying that this is the etzem harotzin, although in fact it is not the etzem harotzin, mamash, it's just the haora of the etzem harotzin. What do we mean? So why then do we call it Etzem HaRotzen? The intent there is to allude to the fact that this is not a ha'ora that goes through a process. It's only hishtalshelus means a chaining down as it goes further into the koiches. Mimadrega lemadrega, that it goes down from one madrega to the other. As it is in the case of the koiches pnimiyim. Koiches pnimiyim means the functional koiches, the koiches that are function to a keli. Hamislabshes bekeli, that actually are imbued in keli. So the koiches pnimiyim that are first contained in kelim, then they come into a functional state. So let's go through a little bit inside, and then we'll go back. This is an important issue. We never got into this properly. Koiches pnimiyim. Again, the touch pnimiyim means that they imbue themselves internally. They are not functioning without getting involved at a distance, like Ratzon. But they actually become involved in the function, in the keli. Mislabshin b'keli. The atzmus hakoyach, where the etzem hakoyach hu behakeli shemislabish ba, where the essence of the koyach is contained in the keli into which it is imbued. So inevitably, we'll have to use mishalim. And the mishalim are so simple that we lose sense of what we are trying to bring out. So we use the very simplest thing of a keli, a cup that contains water. We pointed out the water that is in the cup, is that identical water, the very same water that is in the lake. So what is the significance of the fact that this water is now in a cup, in a keli? The water in the keli identifies in the water a certain aspect that is contained in the water that when it is in the lake, it is not recognizable. When it's in the lake, the water is contained, is completely speaking, so to speak, about itself. It's doing its own thing. It flows freely from one end of the lake to the other. We cannot tell the difference between one drop of water and another drop of water. The water in the cup identifies a completely different aspect of water, a functional aspect of water. The functional aspect of the water is actually something that is used for a person to drink. A person does not drink from the lake. He cannot drink from the lake. In order to drink, the water from the lake has to be isolated, separated from the lake, and identified as just a drop of water. It's the same water. But it must be identified as such. It must be identified that this is drinking water presented to a human being. This is what happens in the water in the cup. Does it change anything in the water? It does not change it. But it reveals in the water a certain quality that is on the functional level. It's no longer the essence of the water. This water is no longer flowing freely. It stays put in the cup. Not only stays put in the cup, but we identify its limit. Just this amount of water, exactly this amount. This amount of water exists in the lake, but there it is not identifiable as an amount. Then every drop of water is part of the entire bulk of water. Here it becomes identified quantitatively, and as a result of that, qualitatively as well. Now you identify, hey, this has a very supreme function. It feeds a human being. And I'm emphasizing this in you. Please understand. The dog does not need a cup to drink from. The dog can bend down into the lake and into the puddle and drink. A human being cannot do that. For a human being, the water that he is going to drink has to be isolated from its source and identified as such. This Indian that the water in the lake is identifiable as drinking water is a certain quality inherent in the water, but it's concealed therein. The keli is what identifies it, is what reveals it. When the water is mislabesh, is put into the keli, it's a new aspect in the water is revealed, is identified. And that aspect is now being separated from the rest, from the natural water as it is unto itself. This water is identified by its function rather than by its reality, by its etzem.
What is the nimshal?
Huh?
I'm losing track. What the nimshal?
No, I'm coming. So far,
and we had it yesterday as well. I'm wondering.
yeah, okay, but we never completed it. So far, stay with me, okay? So we got this right. So now, when we actually serve this water for drinking, and the person drinks this water, this water, as we said, is the identical water that was in the lake. But now we have brought the water to the point where it now stands and it speaks about a functionality of the water rather than the etzem of the water itself. From the functionality perspective itself, what does a person drink? The actual water that's in the cup. The actual water that's in the cup is only a order of water. It is not the water as it is in its original state, in its natural state. It's a ha'orah of the water. But, here is what we say. This ha'orah is drunk. When you drink this ha'ora, you drink the actual ha'ora, the way it is in the cup. This is what we mean the etzem ha'or. There are people, for example, that even when you drink water from a cup, they take a straw and they draw the water into through the straw. There, you are reducing the ha'ora to another level. Further reduction. So that it is clear there is no such thing as water per se. There's only the drinking aspect of the water. This is through this straw. In the cup, it's also a ha'ora. It is also made for drinking, but it is not just drinking. It is water per se, but fit for drinking. This is what you mean to say that etzem ha'rotzen is nimshach. What means etzem ha'rotzen nimshach? Surely it is the ha'ora of the rotzen, but it is the etzem of the ha'ora itself. It is not the ha'ora, the effect of the ha'ora, like you say, water through a straw. It has the aspect of the water, but it is in a keli. So I don't know if we can focus in and see the subtle differences. They are very clear and very important differences.
Can I ask something?
No. I'll give you an example. A cup of water you can spill. You can spill and make a mess. A straw does not spill. Straw is totally contained within its functional aspect. So even though the cup has now identified in the water and actually presented itself as a functional aspect of the water, but within that itself, it is the etzem of that function. What do you mean the etzem of that function? When a person drinks water, whether it is through a cup or through a straw, ultimately the water dissolves and becomes part of the general aspect of water. It does not enter his process, in his tensions, in a formed manner. It becomes plain water. It breaks open completely. Because that's the essence of the water. But the way it is consumed is only to the ha'ora aspect. This is what we're saying. The Ratzon, I don't know if it reverberates with you. The Ratzon nefesh has a function, has a power of the function. This is the ha'ora of the Ratzon. He's saying that the ha'ora and the Ratzon, this ha'ora of the Ratzon has the power of the Ratzon itself. It is not merely the ha'ora as it affects externally, but the ha'ora as it is representing the nefesh. To complete this discussion, just want to say this. We already learned before that in every aspect, in every koyach, in every oyer, there are two aspects. There's the aspect where it represents its source, the aspect where it stands for its functionality, how it affects the outside. In this ha'ora of the Ratzon, similarly there is these two inyanim. This is the ha'ora of the Ratzon as it represents the Ratzon itself. On the ha'ora level, how the Ratzon is going to functionally affect. But it is representing the Ratzon. Then there is how this ha'ora is got on this histalshelus, where it represents how it actually affects externally, how it relates to the outside. This is normally ha'ora. Every koyach functions to a ha'ora aspect. Ratzon functions to the etzem of the ha'ora aspect. In other words, in this ha'ora of the Ratzon, a certain aspect of the etzem is retained. It still has the power of the etzem. In our motion of the cup of water, this is what we said, the water in the straw cannot possibly spill and make a mess. And then make a mess and re-identify itself as plain water. The water in the cup can. This is where the ha'ara retains an etzem quality. And this is how the etzem quality of the ha'ara. And this is how the Ratzon functions. It is only ha'ara of the Ratzon, but the ha'ara has an etzem quality of the Ratzon. He has the power of the Ratzon. And this is what we're saying. Let's complete this thing. When a person says, I want, it is not a vain statement, I want. This want compels him and directs him and forces him to act. It gets him out of bed. It's only ha'ara. But it has a reality with it. It presents, so to speak, the essence of this ha'ara. Let's identify it even further. There are two aspects in I want. I want to have money. Everybody wants money. Some people want money after the fact that they already have it. But to go and make it is a different, they don't have the power, they don't have the willpower to go and do it. When I say I want, you're talking about what I want on a final state. But it is not only I'm waiting for it to be on a final state. I want and I'm going to make it happen. This want has a power to make it happen. Make what happen? Not the action of getting it, but the result of the action. This is what I want. Nonetheless, in this I want, it's a ha'ora, but this ha'ora contains the power of the whole etzem dehora. To the extent that this brings him up to go in and get it. Although in the statement I want, is not contained I want to get or to make it happen. I want it in the result. Okay. Yes. Any questions?
I had a difficulty when the
I can
muscle
hear.
was
I can
said.
hear. I can hear what you're saying.
It became out later, but when the muscle was said that in the cup there's only he drinks the aura, he has the etzem of water.
Yes. But not this water is in the keli. And the water in the keli is identified as drinking water rather than water in its own abode.
It's water. It doesn't take away the fact that it's water.
That's right. So, but it's not water it's water presented in the cave. This identifies in the water the ability the water to be limited, to present it for drinking purposes. Just like in your speech. When you speak, you have the thought. The thought is a whole thought. But you can't speak the thought. You need to speak, you have to identify what you're going to say. Not what you think. It's still the thought.
Yeah, but I don't know if but here we have, it's not stripped of the water still.
It is. It is water in a limited fashion. Water naturally flows freely. Here the water is contained.
Is the cup a mushroom for Gidei Ratzon?
No, not at all. The cup is an external keli to the water. Gidei Ratzon, as we said, is Gidin created by the Ratzon itself. All right. So let's look inside now. The second line, okay, we'll start Oisnum Beis, the second line. We don't mean to say that Etzem HaRotzon Mamash is Nimshach Bazeh. The Be'emes, because in truth, Klal is Hamshocha Azois, this Hamshocha at its inception is Rag Ha'ora, it is only Ha'ora. Again, what is the Ha'ora aspect over here mean? How is it different than the Etzem HaRotzon? The Etzem HaRotzon is the way it is reflective of the Nefesh. The Ha'ora is reflective of how it functions externally. The Hamshocha is a Ha'ora, only Ha'ora. Raga Kavonahi, what then do we mean when you say that the Etzem HaRotzon is Nimshach? The Kavon, in the intent of this is that this Ha'ora is not a touch on the Ha'ora that actually descends, so to speak, and conjugates from level to level, as it is in Koches Pnimim, a Slapshin became. Now in Koches Pnimim, that a Mislabishin came. And we'll discuss it in a moment. In the Keches Pnimim that it comes through Kelim, the Etzem HaKeach Hu v'HaKeli Shemislabish Bo is only in the Keli that in which it is imbued. U'ma she'nimshach lifoil b'keach ha'acher, and that which is drawn from the Etzem HaKeach. to affecting the other koyach. Hu rag haora kanal perik nalef. Is only haora, as we said before, bepulas aseichel, in the effect of the seichel. So seichel is still an elusive thing to us. Let's talk in a very simple thing: the hand, the koyach of the hand.